there. I'm meteorologist Jake Lambright, and I want to talk a little bit, of course, about what's going on in the tropics. Just in from the National Hurricane Center, 97L is now Tropical Storm Erin. So, of course, we can take a look at that current track. Then, as we head into the day-to-day, scattered storm chances, as you can see there on live radar, will be increasing as we head throughout the day today. But will that keep us cooler? There's a lot that goes into that. So, of course, we're going to dive right into that. I'm going to go ahead and pause things here and let's start off by taking things out to the tropics. We'll take a look at that tropical weather outlook. I don't know if my system here has loaded in the latest on Erin. Maybe so. Let me change some things around here. We can take a look at that National Hurricane Center forecast cone again, just in for Erin. So the Hurricane Center is actually forecasting Erin to become a major hurricane as it heads a little closer to the Caribbean. Of course, the most likely scenario at this point is that it curves back out into sea. But with that said, I'm still cautiously optimistic. I think it's the best way uh, to describe my thoughts on this right now because, of course, it's the best case scenario for it to go back out, recurve into the ocean. And that's ultimately what we would all like to see. But we are looking at models and we're looking at those 7 to 12 days out. So a little bit beyond that 7-day window where things start to get a little messy and not quite as accurate. So that's why I don't want to put, a ton of trust into these just yet. But ideally, that kind of curve back into the ocean is kind of accounting for this kind of curving around the Bermuda High and going back out into the ocean. I'm going to try to see here if I can't. Okay, so there's that forecast cone. Trying to see if I can get some more data in there. It looks like I cannot. So I'll just kind of draw things out here with my pen the best that I can. And here's a look. There's where Tropical Storm Erin is right now, where that little spinning icon is. And as it gets a little closer, probably this point in the forecast cone, when it's expected to become a major hurricane. That's what I'm going to use that M for that I'm drawing there on the map. So let me pause things here and kind of zoom things back out. I'm going to clear out what I have there. But essentially, how things are currently looking on some of the modeling is that as it gets to about here, it'll kind of continue to curve back out into the ocean. That's because we have that Bermuda High, which is really strong. Winds going to be going counterclockwise or clockwise around that high in the same direction that the clock hand turns. And so again, that would ultimately, if this is the scenario that continues to play out, we'll see it kind of go back out into the ocean, which again is a best case scenario for us. Something that I hope that we ultimately see steered away from land, and we'll keep it from being an issue for us here across the United States. Now I'm going to take things back to the tropical outlook. Of course, it's still highlighting where Erin is in red. That's the same area that'll go off the map eventually now that we have an organized tropical cyclone out there. There are two more areas that the Hurricane Center is watching. Both have a low chance for development and, of course, will not have any impact on us along the Gulf Coast or along the state of Louisiana. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about those today. You'll see here on Tropical Satellite, I will spend a little more time talking about this area because it will have an impact on our forecast. Still looking at this wave of tropical moisture located off the coast of the Florida Panhandle. This is going to continue moving our direction and bringing us more rain chances as we go throughout the course of this week. I'm going to turn on our available moisture. Give me just a second to kind of enable that here on my end. And of course, it's going to show that we've already got a good bit of moisture in play across a good portion of the state, mainly southeast of Louisiana, where you start to see these pink colors and really where you start to see the red colors. This was valid a little bit earlier this morning at about 4 a.m. And if I fast forward things, let's go to tomorrow about 10 a.m. You can see kind of the change. We've got higher moisture in play across a good portion of the state. Once again, really where you see the red and the pink colors across the eastern half of the state, that's where we've got higher amounts of moisture. That in turn will contribute to some good rain chances across the board. So it will take just a minute for this to load up. And I'm going to go ahead and load up future radar here in just a second and kind of load that out as far as I can. So I'm going to load that here, get that timestamp there on the screen for you. It's going to look like it's glitching out. It's just kind of loading in some of that data. And then, of course, we'll walk through it. Even though we've got a higher amount of moisture in the area, it's not going to be a widespread all-day rain. These will be scattered kind of hit and miss storms. But again, we could certainly use that rain. And for those that see rain during the afternoon and evening hours, we'll see at least temporary relief from that afternoon heat. So again, I'm loading this in. I see a couple questions here in the comments, so it might be a good time to answer those while I'm waiting on that to load in. Of course, if you have any questions about the forecast, what's going on, please feel free to leave those in the comments and I'll be happy to answer those. Natalie's asking, so there's no chance it can come to us. Someone said it's too early to tell. So there were two areas in the northern part of the Atlantic, and those won't have an impact on us whatsoever. They also have a low chance for development, so not too favorable at this point. When it comes to Erin, that's the one where, yes, it is a little too early to tell. It's still leaning toward that recurving back out into the ocean, but like I said, it's really within that 7 to 12 day window that it gets closer to us, and we're expecting that recurve. So models at that point are not all that accurate, or not as accurate as they are within that 7 day window. So yes, I would still monitor. It's nothing to be concerned about. Of course, if it is something that's coming our way, I'll let you know as soon as I'm confident in that. For now, I'm more confident in the scenario it stays away from us, but like you're saying, it is too early to tell. All right, so we've got future radar loaded. Let's go ahead and kind of walk through the next couple of days. So this is doing a pretty good job. Here's a look at what it thinks is going on at about 10 a.m. And yes, we've got a few scattered storms moving in from off the coast, and I'll show you on live radar here in just a moment. As we head toward the afternoon, you'll notice along I-10, even into the evening, and parts of central Louisiana as well, kind of that hit and miss storm activity, and kind of keeping this at about a 50% chance of rain for now. So really a coin toss. And like I said, this is not going to be an all day kind of washout type of deal. We may see a few isolated storms as we head into the night tonight. Very few of those see rain. Then as we head into the day tomorrow, you'll notice, especially during the afternoon and evening, that scattered to even widespread storm activity there in southeastern Louisiana on both the North Shore and the South Shore, the New Orleans metro, even back into Baton Rouge with some isolated to scattered storm activity into central Louisiana, even into northern Louisiana as well. So once again, kind of seeing these off and on storms, very scattered in nature as we head through a lot of Monday and Tuesday. And I expect that trend to continue as we head into a lot of this upcoming work week as well. Here's a look right now at live radar across the state. You can see a few of those scattered storms south of Interstate 10 right now coming off the coast. I'll actually zoom in on those a little bit better so you can see them. So these will continue coming off the coast as we go through the next couple of hours and move into kind of Acadiana, are already moving into southwestern Louisiana, already seeing some along the South Shore, and these could move into central Louisiana as we head a little bit later into this afternoon. So again, if y'all have any questions about the forecast, please feel free to go ahead and ask those as I wind down the live stream. One of the last things to look at this morning, I should say, are these afternoons high temperatures. So across a good portion of the state, let me see if I can get that to register there. Highs across I-20, likely going to be in the low and mid 90s. We'll see very similar highs here across a good portion central Louisiana, highs there near 94 in Natchitoches and Manning. Then as we head down toward Interstate 10, Lake Charles, Lafayette, looking at highs in the low and mid 90s. Same there for Baton Rouge, maybe a degree or two cooler there in New Orleans along the South Shore, and then generally looking at low and mid 90s for those afternoon highs across portion or across the North Shore as well, kind of the Mandeville, Covington area over on the North Shore in the New Orleans metro. So again, as we go through the next couple of days, there are things to monitor in the tropics, but nothing that's an immediate threat to Louisiana or to the Gulf Coast. So for now, that's great news. Of course, we'll have to watch things, see how especially Erin evolves as we go throughout the end of this week. By then, there will be a much better idea of if Erin for sure is going to recurve into the Atlantic, which is the most likely scenario, or if we need to watch for other scenarios that could be in play. The other two areas in the tropics, which if you look at the tropical weather outlook here, are highlighted in yellow. They have a low chance of development, and they are not going to impact the Gulf Coast whatsoever. Really, the big thing for us to watch as we go through the next couple of hours will be the chance for those scattered storms as we head into this afternoon. Of course, the severe weather threat remains pretty low, but not zero. Something to watch. Any of these stronger storms will be capable of producing some gusty winds. Most of those will be between 40 to 50 miles per hour, a little bit below severe limits. Also, heavy rain at times and frequent lightning as well. So again, this is kind of a last call for questions before I go ahead and hop off for the morning. And of course, I'll have a much more detailed update for you as to what to expect as we go throughout the rest of this week, coming up tonight at 5 and 6, as well as 10 over on KALB platforms on the air on NBC and on our live stream, kalb.com/live stream. Also, for those that do watch me locally on KALB in central Louisiana, I've got some exciting things the team and I have been working on the past couple of weeks that I'll be sharing with you tonight at 6 o'clock. And I don't want to spoil everything, when we'll be giving you more forecast information available to you around the clock and a new look to our graphics. So excited to share some of that with you. So make sure to tune in tonight, especially for that 6 o'clock newscast. I'll be sharing more of those details with you. And of course, you can see that new look starting at 6 o'clock, but again, beyond the 6 o'clock newscast. All right, so I don't see any questions here in the live stream, so I'm going to go ahead and hop off for now. Again, I'll have a much more detailed update on your forecast tonight, 4, 5, 6, and 10 over on NBC here in central Louisiana and over on our website, kalb.com/livestream. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and hop off. Thanks for joining me this morning. Have a great Monday.